And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus on this Monday, January 26th. And we're at the final stretch of not only January, but the Arctic cold that's been gripping our area for the last week or so. And we've got about another 5 days of this before Mother Nature decides to give us a little bit of a break. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with our Ag Director, Bridgette Readel. Bridgette, how was the weekend besides cold?
It's a little brisk out there, but things are warming up. There are folks in other parts of the United States right now who are essentially scared out of their minds by how cold it's been. Yes, I know you probably got 7 inches of snow. It's going to be okay. I swear it's going to be fine. Then it should warm up soon. Will that snow dissipate? Really depends on where you're at for ground temperature and what your warm up's going to be soon. But um, this has been a real challenge for a lot of people. Homes, especially further south, are not prepared for this. Generators that haven't run in ages are having to get going. Water pipes that are maybe only 6 inches below ground have been having some problems. So best of luck. It should be better in a few days.
Yeah, and we've got the warmer. Today's the warmest day of the week. We do have slightly warmer weather today, but then as we head into later this week, we're back into the Arctic air, unfortunately. So we're sitting in the lower teens right now. We'll make it up to about 15 or so this afternoon, and then cold front will be moving through, switching our winds to the north. We can't rule out an isolated snow shower or two, but nothing to worry about. Northwest winds, though, will pick up later this afternoon at about 15 to 25 and gusting, so we could see a little bit of blowing snow out there. Watch your evening commute for maybe a little slippery travel due to the blowing snow. Should not be a big problem, but again, something to keep an eye on. And then tonight, we're looking at partly cloudy skies, about 5 to 10 below. Wind chills overnight, 20 to 30 below again. And then the rest of the week, we have highs in the single digits. Nighttime lows between 7 and 15 below. Looks like we'll see lighter winds for most of the week, so that's good. We won't have to deal with any really nasty wind chills, with the exception of tomorrow morning, where some areas could be approaching 40 below. Other than that, just cold, not windy. That's tolerable. And then as we head into the weekend, we'll see a clipper system come our way Saturday night into early Sunday, depositing a little light snow in the area. But with that, we'll see warmer temperatures into the teens and 20s for Saturday and Sunday. And then we turn the page into February, Bridgette, and according to the LRC, we are going to start seeing more stormy activity for that first week in February. So something we'll keep an eye on. It looks like for our snow lovers, we're going to add a little bit to the snowpack. How much? It's up in the air right now, but definitely more than we've seen recently. So again, that's according to the LRC, and we'll be keeping an eye on that first week in February. So the good news is at least the temperatures will moderate back into the 20s, and we could kick this Arctic air to the curb, at least for a while. So that's good news there.
Once this starts to warm up, it's a perfectly good time to start hauling all of those filthy coveralls, shop rags, and so much more to the Coral Laundromat. They're over on 45th Street, and they are our studio sponsor. They do a pretty bang-up job. Had some things done there last week myself. So check out Coral Laundromat over on 45th Street, because you can either drop it off or pick it up when they're done, or you can just hang out there and use their TVs, fireplace, let the kids play in the play area while the laundry gets done. Sounds even better than doing it at home.
No,
For those of
and
you
you can keep the kids occupied while you're there doing chores. That's perfect.
Keep them occupied. Somebody's got to fold these socks. They don't just happen by themselves, you guys.
Good point.
Let's get rolling. So for those of you who have questions about that and so much more, you can reach us on the JLA Insurance phone line today, 701-293-9000. Our guest for today is going to be Don Kinzler. He's with NDSU Extension, and especially in horticulture. And Don always has great insight. So if you have questions for him, please do reach out to us. Again, that JLA Insurance phone line is 701-293-9000. You can send emails, and Dean and I will make sure to pose them with your questions to Don. Our inboxes are powered by Superior Grain Equipment. They're bringing you the superior insights for not only grain handling, drying, but storage systems. Dean is ag. Excuse me. Dean is weather at flagfamily.com. I'm ag at flagfamily.com.
I have a
For those
question, but not for
watching,
Dawn.
You got a
but what do
question
you
for
I've
have,
got a
Bridgette.
Addison?
question for you, Bridgette.
Okay.
Okay, so you mentioned Cora Laundry and folding socks.
Yeah.
Who's out here folding socks? I simply pour the laundry basket back into the dresser. Are we supposed to be folding the socks?
Maybe a little bit of matching would help. Sure.
Now you're
Mhm.
really throwing a curveball at him.
The funnest part of my
You
morning is
should
just
know.
opening the drawer and reaching in and seeing what I get. It's like a claw machine game.
Okay. You should know that wherever that one sock went, the one you can't find, is probably the same place that your Tupperware lid wound up. Just gone, disappeared, never to be
Isn't
found
that the
again.
truth?
They never match. Just how they are.
See, I'm smart.
Do I
All
put
my
that in-
socks are the same. I've got 30 pairs of the same black socks, so I can't mismatch my socks.
Perfect.
I can't believe that you haven't managed to put a picture of this said claw machine drawer of socks on our live stream, where you could do that. It's powered by Lighthouse Commodities, and then everybody watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Acres TV will see Addison's sock drawer, because it's probably something we should see and admire.
I'll have a picture of that ready sometime in the fourth segment, probably.
Looking forward to the sock drawer photos.
I'll
yes.
make a thumbnail.
And make sure you have, left and right labeled on your sock too. You don't
Well,
want to
yeah,
get
there's
those
a little
confused.
tag in there. I'm not a monster. You can't just put a left
Yes.
sock on your right foot. It feels weird.
Well, and if you take your shoes off, people can see that, and they're going to think you are actually a monster
I mean,
and illiterate.
I would think anyone walking around this building without their shoes on is a monster. Put your shoes on. This is a workplace.
Got that right.
We
How did-
try to look
yeah.
professional around here.
How did this go sideways?
Yes.
Well, you wanted me to pipe in.
That's how.
Yeah. So anybody can at any time. That's how this works.
Uh,
Because Addison's the guy who's taking all these phone calls. Imagine the things he said when we have a Vegas qualifier. It's not just, hi, how are you? What's your name? Addison gets all the scoop on those folks.
It's true, I do. And we will
Yes,
be
and
doing one
remind
of
them-
those shortly here when
Excellent.
I get you
Please
the name.
Please
Yes.
remind them to wear their socks and shoes when they come in to the qualifying round that night, which is Tuesday, February 3rd over at Kingpins.
Socks and shoes also recommended while being in Vegas, but that's more of a recommendation than anything.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and we'll get you there so you can see the Wizard of Oz at the Sphere. You can get airline tickets for 2, hotel for 3 nights, $500 in spending cash, and the best part is it's all brought to you by Frontier Airlines, Alsager Meats, as well as Kingpins. So today there'll be a qualifier, and there'll be a qualifier on Jay's show, but I bet we get our qualifier faster.
I bet we will.
yes. So make sure you're listening. No doubt. We'll have that coming up here later on in the show, so you want to keep tuning in. And we've got Don Kinzler coming up here after the break. I know I've got one thing that I've got to ask Don about, and it's been all over the internet. It's about exploding trees. Now, I had murder hornets. I've had many other things on my bingo card, Don, but I did not have exploding trees on my bingo card this year.
Well, I'm still paranoid that I put my left sock on my right foot this morning. I'm still thinking on that. Have I been doing this
when
wrong
it happens
for
because then your
years?
toes feel weird in the sock.
Oh,
They
well,
do.
that
I'm
explains a
with
lot.
Addison.
But yeah, gosh, I'm gonna have to check here. Exploding trees. This is awesome.
Yeah, and
we
we'll-
got to talk about
We'll
that.
talk about this after the break. If you have any questions for Don, give us a call, 701-293-9000. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
It's cold out there, but that doesn't mean your tech support can't be running smoothly. Make sure you give Chris Sherman a call over at Tech Support Farm. Check on how things are going. If you are safe and secure, whether it's using multi-factor authentication. There, I have to think about that word. Or if you need to have something different done with your email addresses. Chris is also hosting an upcoming webinar on Tuesday, February the 10th at 11 a.m. It's free, 1 hour long. Going to answer a lot of those tech support questions you might have. So go on over to techsupport.farm and register today. I understand we have a caller with a question. So who we got and what do we got?
Oh, this is Frostbite, Bridgette.
Hello, how are you?
Do you remember meeting me at Big Iron?
I do.
Hello. Okay.
Hi.
So I used Frostbite because I used to live up in International Falls, which was considered cold spot of the nation. These boys were talking about Bullwinkle and Rocky earlier. Okay. So I got called Bullwinkle once in a while. Anyway. So my agricultural question is, we actually wanted cold weather because I think it killed off some of the germs and I don't know, it might even help with the worms in my cattle. Is that any substantiation to that? Especially when we hit 5-6 days in a row.
I don't think you're entirely wrong. There is really a good opportunity here for us to get rid of some pests that we may or may not have, whether it's in cattle and whether it's in our cropping systems as well. So good news. You're a great lead-in for some of the questions we were going to have with Don today. So we can help you out, Frostbite.
So one thing the cold weather didn't do was kill all the mosquitoes. We still had mosquito problems. Anyway.
They come back every time.
So for these other guys, if you're really hardy, look up the Freeze Your Gizzard Blizzard run. It's basically races that the International Falls had in January, excuse me. These boys would go out and run 5 and 10, and I even think they did the marathon. I'm not sure. And they used to do a week of celebrations. They used to do pumpkin bowling where they had bowling pins out in the parking lot and used a frozen pumpkin for a bowling ball. So, and last but not least, have you ever heard of schmoosh races?
Schmoosh races.
Ever heard of those?
So are we?
Yeah.
Are we doing these with like snow bikes?
No, you'd take 4 people, and you'd lay down 2 regular 2x4s, and you would strap 1 foot to each 2x4, and there's 4 people here in line. And you had to coordinate skiing on flat 2x4s, and they had races doing that. Schmoosh races. I think it's schmoosh is what they pronounced it as.
It's kind of like a group effort to go cross-country skiing.
Yeah. So there was a lot of creativity up there with the cold weather. So, and yes, warm water will freeze before it hits the ground. Anyway.
It will indeed.
So,
thank you, Frostbite.
So some information for you. Thank you. Have a good day.
Much appreciated. Thanks, you too. Actually, he's got some great ideas. There's going to be winter golf happening where I live at the end of February. I mean, we'll think of all sorts of creative things to do outside. But Don Kinzler, he brought up a great point. Sometimes bugs outside can freeze. So do you want to talk about the exploding trees or the pests we're going to get rid of in this cold snap first?
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me. Well, since it's been all over social media, and it's tough to beat an exploding tree, how about we go there first?
I love it. I love it.
Cover your head. Watch your eyes.
Yeah, because I was telling Don when we were at commercial break, I had numerous friends from Nebraska all the way down to Oklahoma and Texas saying, you guys get so cold your trees explode? Explain how that happens.
The shrapnel is crazy.
Oh, yeah. I said you have to go outside with a helmet on. It gets so dangerous. So,
okay, now I've enjoyed watching all this, and on social media and etc. I really enjoyed watching this. Okay, so if we kind of just take a step back and look at all this, okay. Trees have been growing in these areas for a long, long time. Okay, I think the oldest living tree currently in North Dakota, I think, is 400 years old, still living, an oak. Okay, and of course, it's been getting cold forever during winter. And so, this isn't something new that is happening this year. Okay, so this has happened just, as long as trees and cold have existed in these parts. Okay, but we've always called them frost cracks on trees. But now frost cracks, that term, does not get nearly as many clicks as a tree exploding. And so, credit to whoever invented this term, exploding trees. Now, it's interesting. So I did a little looking to see, okay, when were the first recorded, exploding trees or frost cracks? And actually, there's oral history from our Native Americans in these areas, and they, some tribes, called January the moon of the popping trees. Okay, so now when these trees frost crack or explode, and it's on clear, cold nights, the exact mechanism isn't really known, but it's thought to be, the sap, the wood, it contracts or expands slightly different. There's a twisting of the wood, and it just cracks. And it sounds like a rifle going off. Now, I have heard it, but I have never been looking at a tree. Well, who's looking at a tree in the middle of the night on cold January night? So I've never been standing next to a tree and heard the pop and seen it crack. Okay, so they crack vertically, a big crack in the trunk of the tree. And you can see those when you're walking through forests. But now, again, this has happened for thousands of years. So when we get a period of cold weather, it's not like the next morning you're going to drive down the street and all the trees will have exploded. They do not detonate. And, they do not send out shrapnel. So, if you're standing next to one, you're not going to be injured. But now the interesting thing, I've seen on Facebook and social media, people posting pictures of, I saw one this morning, it looked like it was maybe an ice storm down south from some time, and the branches all up and down the trees were just decimated. Okay, that's not frost cracking. Another one, I saw an actual video here. It had AI written all over it. Okay, supposedly someone videoed these exploding trees, and the trees they were literally exploding. The bark was flying off of them, and the trees in this whole area were all exploding. Now, exploding trees or frost cracks is relatively rare. I've maybe seen 2 or 3. My good coworker, Joe Zalesnik, the forester at NDSU, I'm sure he's examined and seen many more. I've probably seen just a couple of those over the years. And so it's relatively rare. So it's not like everybody, my gosh, our trees are all exploding. You'll go out in your yard and check your tree. It's going to be fairly rare. Now, if your tree happens to frost crack, that's probably a little, less a snazzy term, but maybe a little more accurate. Okay, if that does happen, do not fill it. Okay, when the weather gets nice, do not try to fill that crack. And it is an open kind of a wedge-shaped crack in the trunk. Do not try to fill it with something because that will prevent the natural healing or compartmentalizing of that wound. In the forest, you can see old frost cracks where they've developed kind of a callus roll of tissue that has kind of compartmentalized that. Now, of course, a frost crack is not a good thing. That can be a spot where insects, disease organisms could enter that tree, and it also structurally could affect the structural integrity of that tree. So if you happen to be unlucky enough to have one of these frost-cracked trees next to a house, you might want to keep an eye on it. Maybe have an arborist examine it because that wood is not going to all heal back structurally the way it was. And so, in fact, I did a little look in Wisconsin State University, had a really good write-up on it. And trees that have experienced frost cracks generally do not live as long as trees that don't.
Oh, sure.
But
luckily,
luckily it's relatively rare. But it's been kind of fun
it's been fun for me to see all the chatter about this because it has us looking at our trees. It has us kind of thinking about trees. But again, we're not going to drive up and down our communities and see that, my gosh, all the trees on, 10th Street, they all exploded. So what I want to do, though, is if anybody in the listening area, if you actually found a frost crack, give me an email. I'd love to hear about it. But again, you may, on rare occasions, I probably in the last 50 years, I've heard it once. I've actually heard that popping. Your house, your rafters will do this. Your rafters, on a cold night, occasionally you can hear a loud pop when rafters will do that as well.
And Don, I agree with you about, we haven't really seen that. In ice storms, when we see branches break off, that will sound extremely loud. It'll sound a little bit like fireworks, and that does make a little more sense. But I'm sure we're not done with this topic. And then we got to talk about the pests that are dying because it's cold out, and good riddance to some of them. But we'll do that after the news, so stay tuned.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus, 1:34 in the afternoon. And our special guest today is Don Kinzler from NDSU. And Don, I want to thank you first off for joining us and putting to bed the myth of trees exploding. That's just...
It's still real in my heart.
Oh, you pipe down, buddy.
Shrapnel everywhere.
So, Don, we were talking during the break about... with the cold temperatures that we've been having, and we have them every winter, we have this extended period of cold typically. Does that have any effect on either emerald ash borer or the Japanese beetle?
And of course, the emerald ash borer that has just decimated millions and millions of trees, ash trees. It only attacks ash trees.
Okay,
well, that's good. But it has totally decimated ash trees in many, many states, and it has marched this way. Okay, and so everyone was wondering, well, is that an insect that would just be killed off by our winters? Okay, well, it was found, within the last year and a half at Lemoore County. It was officially identified as it being in ash trees in Lemoore County. It had been discovered in Clay County, so we all thought, well, it was going to progress across the Red River to Fargo and be the next spot to be found in North Dakota. But instead, Lemoore County and kind of a shelter belt there. And so now the North Dakota Department of Agriculture puts traps all around the state. It was not in the last update. It was not found this last season anywhere else. So still Lemoore. Many feel that it's probably out there, but we just haven't been able to diagnose it or find it yet. Okay, so a question was, well, gosh, does it get cold enough that it just won't happen? Well, it has been, the emerald ash borer has been in Winnipeg for a number of years. And they get pretty chilly up there too. It hasn't maybe spread wildly in Manitoba like it has in other warmer states. So definitely cold probably had an effect, will have an effect on it. But yet these insects can mutate they can adapt. And so I don't think cold weather will probably just keep it out permanently. So stay tuned on that. But it has not been found any farther in North Dakota, so that's good news. Now, the other insect that's interesting that also is marching our way, that up to this point had been kind of kept out by the cold weather, the Japanese beetle. Now, when I've mentioned Japanese beetle, people think, oh, you mean that little annoying that comes in the fall that bites us, that looks like a ladybug? No, that's the Asian beetle. This is Japanese beetle. And if you take a look at for Japanese beetle, it's about a half an inch big, round, fat beetle with a pretty coppery green color. And the reason that is so possibly damaging is it attacks about 300 crops, 300 different things, roses, trees, shrubs, soybeans. It can affect many, many crops. And in other areas of the country, Japanese beetle is one of the main insects that they need to deal with, whether it's in yards, gardens, because it can totally skeletonize leaves. I mean, it does not play nice. It means business. The Japanese beetle will consume a lot of stuff. Well, now it's interesting. It has been found in quite a number of counties in North Dakota. It probably came in on nursery stock, and so they've got Japanese beetle traps around the state. I think it's, it may be in, is it 18 counties in North Dakota? And
about that, yep.
Okay, good. And it also seems to be surviving winters. Now, an interesting thing, this year, for the first time in my life, I found a Japanese beetle at our place. I was looking at a rose. I was cutting a rose actually to take inside for Mary. And gosh, there was this big kind of lump inside in the petals. And I opened them up. And there was a Japanese beetle inside our rose. And that rose has been there for, 8 years. So I was surprised. I hadn't planted any new nursery stock for it to hitch a ride in on. So now I'll be interested. So we need to stay tuned for Japanese beetle. Maybe the cold weather is keeping them slightly at bay, but they seem to be wintering in North Dakota.
And Don, I don't know if this is true or not, but is it true that if you do find a Japanese beetle, you shouldn't, quote unquote, kill them or crush them because that attracts more beetles to the area and could make the infestation worse. Is that true, or is
well,
that
now
a
that's
falsehood?
interesting. That's an interesting theory. I guess I've never heard it that way. But,
Okay.
you know, the traps that they put out have kind of a pheromone to attract the insect into the trap so you can find out if you got them.
Okay.
But, yeah, there's kind of a debate sometimes, okay, is that going to attract the beetles into that area? But now that's interesting, smooshing a beetle like
Yeah,
that.
right?
Yeah, does it? I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, that's interesting. Now I'll need to check that out. Probably a better way, a safer way, might just be to enclose it, you know, stick it in a, well, like my dad used to do, drop it in a can of kerosene, but maybe drop it in soapy water
Right.
and maybe kill it that way. You know, you bring up a good point.
Okay. Good deal.
I'm going to look that up. That'll kind of stick in my head now until I kind of find out, do those release something that you ought not to be releasing?
Right.
So, Don, will those be some of the tips and tricks that you're going to be sharing on your upcoming webinar series in February?
Oh, you got it. Yeah, thanks for asking. The winter time for me, you'd think maybe it'd be a slow time for somebody in horticulture. It's actually quite busy because I start doing programming. You know, when the weather gets nice, you know, March, April, May, all of us want to be outside. We don't want to be listening to Don Kinzler on a webinar. So I do my webinars here when the weather's kind of crummy outside. And so I'm doing a 5-week webinar. And now these webinars are Zoom webinars. They're free. People do need to register. But you can sit in the comfort of your living room Monday evenings, 7 o'clock. And, you know, the Zoom webinar, everybody's microphone is off, everybody's camera's off. You don't have to worry if the phone's going off and the dog's barking and you're in your jammies. And so these webinars start Monday evening, February 2nd. I'm doing repotting houseplants and transplanting seedlings. Now, anybody that's growing tomatoes from seeds and seedlings, there'll be something for you there, and as well as houseplant lovers. February 16th is all about perennial gardens. On the 23rd, the best products to keep on your shelf for tackling weeds, insects, and diseases. You know, products that work well for all of us home gardeners. March 2nd, I've got how to grow apples, a whole hour-long webinar on how to grow apples, the best varieties, etc. March 9th is lawn care calendar for 2026. Okay, when do you get down your crabgrass preventer? When's the best time to fertilize? What's the mowing height? And things like that. And at the end of each of the webinars, there's question and answer. People can ask anything. And so it's kind of fun. It's live interactive. So how do you get a hold of these? Where do you get registered? Okay, well, one thing you can do is just email me and I'll send you the links to any of those, all of those. And my email is donald.kinzler, spelled Kinzler, donald.kinzler at ndsu.edu. I also call these the NDSU Everybody's Yard and Garden Guide series. So if you were real quick with a pencil and wrote down NDSU Everybody's Yard and Garden Guide series, stick that in your search bar and up will come the spot to register. Or send me an email. Now, but gosh, these are fun. Right now we've got a couple hundred registered for each of those. And so please do join. They're a good time. And then once you do register, you're on our list, and then you receive an email of all of my upcoming events.
All right. And Don, we've got sorry, go ahead, Bridgette.
I've got an email listener who was sent an email via the Superior Grain Equipment inbox. Don, spotted lantern fly. We know it's getting closer, but we do not yet have any documented instances in the state of North Dakota, correct?
I believe you are correct. You know, and it's always fun on Jay's show. We get in the entomologists once a year at least. And so I'm not overly familiar with that insect, to be honest with you. I would have to do a little checking.
Yeah, I think we're still in the clear on it, but it does sound like every year it makes a little more progress to the Midwest.
And of course, these insects do have that fast rate of reproduction and mutation, so yes, they can adapt relatively quickly, even to our cold.
And we've got Kevin on line one with a question for you, Don. Kevin, go ahead.
Hey, Dean, Bridgette, thanks, Don, for coming on air. You were one of the
funnest guys to listen to between Dean and Bridgette. Sorry, guys. Anyway, Don, so you were mentioning bugs and stuff. We haven't seen a big invasion of, what do you call them, army worms, when they decimated Maplewood State Forest, took out all the leaves and on the trees. And then you got the cutworms on the tomatoes, whatever. But we haven't seen that is everything cyclable up here? We can only hope that this below zero weather kills off everything and nobody comes back.
You got it. These definitely do run in cycles. Yep, the tent caterpillars, the cankerworms, army worms, all of those do tend to run in cycles.
Okay.
And they can be affected by our... Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
And like you said, Don, run in cycles, and they can be affected by our summer weather. So if we have instances where our weather it turns drier, we tend to have more pest problems, but they really can be dependent on what our weather cycle is through our growing season.
And Don's got to get going because he has to get to one of his webinars. Is that correct, Don?
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's an East District meeting.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right.
So no, I'm not doing a webinar, but I'm listening to one. How about that?
Well, Don, thanks for joining us. If you do have
it's
time,
always my pleasure.
We did have one emailer asking, and if you don't have time, if you don't have time to answer,
I do.
With the lack of snow that we've had so far this winter, is this affecting our shrubs, our trees, or is it too early to tell? Because we still have a lot of winter left to go.
Too early to tell, but anytime that we get a winter in which we have less snow than maybe normal, it can be very damaging to especially shrubs and perennial flowers. For example, last year, we didn't have all that much snow, but we had quite a bit of cold, and there was a lot of perennial flower damage. People, longtime gardeners that had perennials in place many years, a lot of the tough ones, hosta, things like that, hosta iris, there was a lot of winter kill. When we have winters in which the snow maybe blows clear a little bit, especially, and then you get the frost that penetrates so deeply. And so I'm always a little concerned when we have cold weather and when we've had not as much snow. So right now, in spots, I'm looking out the windows here, and the snow blew off of some of those shrubs. They're probably going to be okay. But if they were perennial flowers, I'd be concerned. I'd rather that they be under 18 inches to 24 inches of snow.
Right, little blanket to protect them.
Exactly.
During the winter months. Well, Don, thanks again for joining us.
It's been my pleasure.
It's always a great time having you here.
Thanks everyone for listening, and thanks for having me on.
All right, thank you so much. And let's see, we've got to get one of our Vegas qualifiers in here. And today's qualifier is Stephanie Cassette.
Yep.
Stephanie of Fargo, you have 11 minutes to call, 701-293-9000. Again, that's 701-293-9000 on the JLA Insurance phone line. Stephanie Cassette of Fargo, again, 701-293-9000 to qualify for our Valentine's Vegas giveaway. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus, 1:51 in the afternoon, and I believe we have our qualifier online. Is this Stephanie?
It is.
Stephanie, congratulations.
Hey, thank you.
All right, and don't forget, make sure you come out to our actually the winter party on the 3rd of February out at Kingpin's. Hopefully, we can get you out to Vegas. Have you been out to Vegas before?
A few times.
Okay. And what have you heard about the Wizard of Oz show? Because this is a pretty amazing show. Have you heard anything about it?
I have. Jay says it's wonderful, so I can't wait to go.
Awesome. Good deal. Good deal. Well, Stephanie, hey, congratulations, and hopefully we'll see you out at the Kingpins party, and best of luck to you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
All right, you bet. See, it's that simple. You register, you listen, and you qualify. Pretty simple.
And there'll be more qualifiers tomorrow. We're looking forward to getting more names on the board, so to speak, to join us at Kingpin. Again, that qualifying round is on February 3rd. It's Tuesday night. We want you there to see who's the winner that goes to see the Wizard of Oz in Las Vegas.
Absolutely. And hopefully the weather will be warmer by next week, that's for sure. But we've got some colder weather. Can it be any colder than it has been? But we're seeing a brief break from that this afternoon, with temperatures rising into the teens this afternoon. But there's a secondary surge of Arctic air that's going to be pouring in as we head into the evening, and especially overnight hours, and then through the rest of the week, as we're expecting temperatures to top out around 15 today. We're at 10 right now, so we should get up to about 15 today. And then the Arctic air pours in. We're down to 5 to 10 below tonight, with wind chills about 30 below tonight. So another frigid start to the morning tomorrow. And then sunshine returns tomorrow. Highs about 6 above. And we're in the single digits for the rest of the week. Luckily, the winds will be lighter later in the week. Wednesday onward, we should have relatively lighter winds than what we've had today and tomorrow. And that will kind of cut back on the wind chill. It's still going to feel cold with temperatures in the single digits, and then nighttime lows between 7 and 15 below. And then as we head into the weekend, we will start to modify things a bit into the teens on Saturday, low 20s on Sunday. And there will be a clipper system coming our way, bringing us a little light snow Saturday night into Sunday. But then we turn the page into February finally, and we will see moderating temperatures. It looks like teens and 20s becoming a little more common that first week in February. But the LRC does have a stormier period as we head into the first week of February through about I believe it was about the 8th, 6th, 7th, and 8th being the highlight times. Now, give or take a day or so. What we know, though, is we are going to go into a stormier part of the LRC cycle. So more than likely, we're going to be seeing more snow later in that first week in February. And there's a couple more systems lined up as well during the month. So February promises to be a stormier month than January was. So for the snow lovers, that's good news. And at least typically when you get these stormier, this part of the stormy LRC cycle, we're not going to be as frigid. So you kind of trade one for the other. You get the frigid, cold, and drier than normal weather, or you get the stormier than normal conditions and temperatures returning back to where they should be. So I'll take the air where you can go outside and it doesn't hurt it doesn't hurt your face when you walk outside. I'd rather have more moderate temps and a little bit of snowfall as well.
You just got to dress for it, and if you're looking for things to get you out of the cold, don't forget to apply for our Assistant Ag Director program that is sponsored by Cass County Farm Bureau here at the station. So we have students who are sophomores in high school to sophomores in college who join us on air. We have somebody about once a month, might pick up a little more frequency soon. And with those students, they help us to interview guests, do all the behind the scenes work, and also just talk through the headlines of the day. Appreciate students who want to reach out and learn more about what happens not only in ag media, but in other aspects of communications as well. And we'd be glad to have you. Some of the folks that are going to do a improved job of learning more about communications are the new leadership class for the South Dakota Cattlemen's Leadership Academy. They begin this summer, and that class will consist of folks of Logan Schlim of Carthage, South Dakota, Megan Mendel of Carpenter, Santana Hansen of Brookings, Taylor Gressing of Mitchell, and Tegan Hadrick of Fulkton. congratulations to them. They are now going to learn more about their industry, improve their communication skills, as well as have an even more solid network with an industry of peers. There are a number of those types of leadership academies that are held. North Dakota Stockman's also does something very similar. We see that through Farm Bureau and Farmers Union organizations too. It is a season to celebrate because it's over this cold weather. I saw a lot of people baking over the weekend using butter, and butter really is having the time of its life right now. With the new dietary guidelines talking about full-fat dairy, this has been a great place for people to pick up on their fluid milk consumption of whole milks, but even just more cheeses, yogurts, ice cream, and of course, butter. It seems like ever since the pandemic, when y'all learned how to make your own sourdough bread, butter has been a flying off the shelf staple. And really, we only see more upside to it as folks participate in the carnivore diet, as we see this as a healthy oil and a healthy fat, and it really has taken over and kind of kicked out some of those plant-based items more recently. So we're seeing the dairy sector growing by about 9.8%, and we continue to see that happen throughout the next couple of years, and these dietary guidelines really helped to do that. We know that a lot of precious metals are worth more and more every day, whether it's gold, silver, and even copper. There is a company out there called Farm Block, and they have created a alarm system to put on irrigation pumps, water pumps, etc., to prevent copper thieves from ripping the copper out of the conduits. It actually comes with all the lights and sirens to think that it was a police vehicle right there in front of you, and it's on an app, so you can figure out when someone is trying to disable your system. It's a little better than cameras, who can only tell you after the fact. This can stop you in the process of the theft.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us today on Weather and Ag in Focus. Bridgette and I want to thank you for joining us, but don't go anywhere. The Jay Thomas Show, it's coming up next.